case you don't know, most supplement brands, including NatureCity, don't do the actual product manufacturing, will direct the formulation and dictate exactly what we want in the product, but one of these specialized contract manufacturers makes the product. Who is making your supplement is very important to the quality and, frankly, the safety of what you're putting in your body.
Knowing where your supplements come from is comparable to knowing where your food comes from. You want to know that the ingredients have been handled properly, that they're from reliable sources, that they've been tested for safety. The manufacturer can really make all the difference when it comes to a safe and reliable product.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the NatureCity podcast. I'm your host, Carl Perdelli. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of the company, having started NatureCity over 20 years ago with my wife, Beth. And since then, it's been our privilege to have served over 500,000 Americans by offering them the best supplements we can make. Today, we're going to be covering tip number 2 of our supplement shopping suggestions to help you find and choose high-quality supplements that you can trust. A few episodes ago, we covered tip number 1, which was to seek out branded, scientifically studied ingredients over generic ingredients. This is a very important topic. If you missed that episode, it's worth 10 minutes of your time. It was episode 105. Tip number 2 relates to what I call the hidden hero behind the supplement bottle, which is the manufacturer. In case you don't know, most supplement brands, including NatureCity, don't do the actual product manufacturing simply because supplement manufacturing is a highly specialized and, contrary to popular opinion, a highly regulated activity that requires a lot of in-house knowledge and expertise. So we'll direct the formulation and dictate exactly what we want in the product, but one of these specialized contract manufacturers actually makes the product. So, of course, as you can see, who is making your supplement is very important to the quality and, frankly, the safety of what you're putting in your body. If for some reason the supplement brand that you are thinking of buying or taking won't reveal who that supplement manufacturer is, well, that's a gigantic red flag if they can't provide that transparency, and I would certainly move on. To help us break down this topic some more and also help you understand what questions you need to know about and ask about a supplement manufacturer, we are joined by Lauren Samot, who is the commercial innovation leader at Vitaquest International, who is one of the world's premier supplement manufacturers. Lauren, thank you for taking the time. How are you today?
I'm so happy to be here.
No, we're happy you're joining us. And just to give the audience a little bit understanding of your background, I think your degrees in professional education are in nutritional science and public health. And as part of that, you're a registered dietitian. And I know despite your youthful appearance, you've been working in this industry for almost 15 years. Mm-hmm. And I think most importantly, you and I share a passion about helping people with their health. Does that all sound right?
Yep, that's 100% correct. And I just can't believe it's been so many years. And just to see how far this industry has come, how much growth there's been in dietary supplements, it's been a really exciting time.
No, it's been incredibly exciting. I mean, from the time we started NatureCity till now, it's just been amazing in the quality of science, the quality of technology, and just the improvement in product quality overall, which is great for consumers. So, Lauren, let's just start with a big picture question from a consumer's perspective. Why should we care about who manufactured our dietary supplements?
It's a great question. And thinking big picture, knowing where your supplements come from is comparable to knowing where your food comes from. You want to know that the ingredients have been handled properly, that they're from reliable sources, that they've been tested for safety. Supplements are designed to support our health in beneficial ways, and where they're made is so critical in the chain of events that lead up to the moment we ingest them. We not only take them ourselves, but we recommend supplements to our loved ones, our children, our spouses, our partners. We recommend them over coffee, over dinner table conversation. And so you really want to make sure that the brand you choose is using a manufacturer that stands behind the products they make. And the manufacturer can really make all the difference when it comes to a safe and reliable product.
No, it really does because, as I said, people may not understand that there's a difference between the supplement brand and the manufacturer. So, you need to investigate and understand both parts of that equation, and it does affect not only, getting the health results you're seeking, but also potentially the safety. As you said, it's akin to putting food in your body, and you should treat it, as seriously when you're choosing the right products. So, Lauren, let me characterize what I see as supplement manufacturers. I kind of put them in three different groups. Okay, I say at the top, there are the premium quality manufacturers. Certainly, Vitaquest, in our opinion, is in this tier. Next, there is a decent sized group of kind of solid contract manufacturers who generally do an okay job, but maybe they have limited capabilities or in house know how. Maybe they don't have their own in house lab, or they don't have a large size lab. And then you have really at the bottom, which is a group that unfortunately is maybe larger than we'd like, which are supplement manufacturers that I don't have a lot of confidence in, and I don't, at least personally from my perspective, I wouldn't rely on to deliver a consistently quality product. So in your judgment, what makes a good supplement manufacturer in your view? And maybe if you want to piggyback on that answer and just, say what you think separates the high quality, what I call the premier quality manufacturers like Vitaquest from some of the others.
Sure. That's 100% correct. And you want to make sure that you're buying a product or partnering with somebody that's been choosy when it comes to their manufacturer. And first and foremost, and this is obvious, but it has to be said, a good quality manufacturer must have a commitment to good manufacturing practices from an operations standpoint, from a facility standpoint. And this really does make sure that the manufacturing process is adhering to FDA guidelines. In addition to this, and this is what sets Vitaquest apart, is an FSSC 22000 certification. And it sounds long and complicated, but really it is just a commitment to hygienic practices. So it's a commitment to food safety principles from the supply chain to distribution, and it's globally recognized, and it just sets forth guidelines for monitoring the environment, the equipment, management, everything beyond that. And so right away, having these two certifications gives you confidence that these safety requirements are being met. Transparency is also really, really important regarding vendors, ingredients, and all the key processes that go into making the product that you recommend to your loved ones, to the product that you take every day. We have a quality and technical services team that checks on the product as it's running, making sure it meets criteria for weight, shape, color, even taste if it's a powder. And all of that is printed on a batch record, which is really important. It's essentially a manufacturing blueprint or documented history of every process that the product has gone through. And it's essentially the life of the product. It's completely traceable because all steps of the manufacturing process are logged there.
Yeah, no, and that is so key. It's not just, people might just picture this as like a drum of powder shows up and you just start putting it into capsules. It's a lot more complicated than that. There really is a process, and you need to follow the life cycle of that whole process. So, and transparency, as I said, is so important to us at NatureCity, and obviously you guys at Vitaquest.
Another good attribute of a manufacturer, and something that really sets Vitaquest apart, is its people, its resources. Having an internal regulatory team that reviews the supplement facts, reviews your label, a product development team that will formulate for efficacy, making sure the product gives you the desired outcome you're looking for, a production team, a quality team, all making sure that everything is made to specification. And so when there's a team of people to support the brand, it's going to be done right. And as our CEO always says, done right the first time. So it's also worth noting if a contract manufacturer has sustainability efforts, that's something that's really important to us. So a lot of our products we are taking from natural resources. What are we doing to kind of give back to the environment? So here we have reduced waste, recycling goals, the use of renewable energy, our solar panels, of course, and just all that helps you be a good steward of the industry.
Yeah, you guys were pretty early on in adopting those, processes. I mean, I think you were, you invested in solar power before anyone was even talking about solar power. So, credit to people who made those decisions.
Mhm.
So, let's maybe delve into a little more one of my favorite topics, which is some of the specific steps that Vitaquest takes to ensure, or when I say Vitaquest or other high quality manufacturers really take to ensure what's listed on the label is actually in the product. Okay, this is the biggest concern that consumers have, and rightly so, that what's on the label is actually they can trust is actually in the product, and they have really good reasons to be concerned about that. I'm sure, Lauren, you're familiar with some of the testing that's been done on products, whether they bought on some of the online platforms or other places that don't meet what's claimed on the label, or maybe have some other issues that could compromise safety, or otherwise not make it a poor quality supplement. So, how does the process that you guys employ protect against things like contaminants, dosage errors, meaning instead of if you're supposed to have 100 milligrams in there, you only have 20,
Mhm.
or just flat out adulteration?
Absolutely. So it's a long process. There's so much that happens behind the scenes before the bottle gets delivered to you in the mail or before it's on a shelf. So all of our incoming raw materials and finished products are evaluated by our quality control laboratory. That's our in-house quality control laboratory and quality assurance. So every single ingredient that enters our warehouse must be qualified by our quality team. Each vendor that we purchase from also must be qualified through a very vigorous vetting process before we can even receive a drop of the material through our doors. Each ingredient is required to have something called a certificate of analysis. And so the certificate of analysis declares that the ingredient meets certain specifications for purity, for strength, for composition. And so our team, our internal testing team verifies that the ingredient meets its own C of A. And this is a requirement by FDA guidelines. So all incoming raw materials are subject to ID testing. This helps us ensure that later on in the manufacturing process, the label matches what was actually put into the product, whether it's a capsule, a tablet, a powder, or some other delivery system. It also verifies that the product was not adulterated in any way. Microbiology testing, also really important to make sure nothing is growing on the product that shouldn't on every raw material. And so just to sum that up, every incoming raw material is subject to ID testing and micro testing, and this means every batch and every lot. In addition to micro and ID testing, we'll test for potency, composition, and purity, and that's ensuring that whatever's on your supplement facts is also matching what's in the product. Then, of course, further on down the process, so after we receive the raw material, is your formulation process. So our product development team and tech services team make sure everything is dosed correctly based on what the formula requires. They make sure that they're using the dose that the clinical data supports at a certain dosage. And then even while the product is being manufactured, so while the product is being made in process, there's automatic checks throughout the whole entire system just to make sure that at very regular intervals, each ingredient is put into the product at an accurate amount. And these are in-process checks that are done by quality, in addition to everything that's done at the end of manufacturing. So you can see all throughout our process, there's checks to make sure you're getting a quality product that's valid, that meets label claim, and that's safe.
That's a great description. And one of the things I want to highlight is, if you don't have the scope and size and expertise in-house to do all this, I mean, what does a manufacturer do? Do they have to outsource that activity? Or how do they, as you said, these are like GMP, FDA mandated things, but if you don't have the lab in-house to do this, what do you do as a manufacturer?
Yep. So some manufacturers might partner with third-party labs. We have certain things that we will send out for third-party testing as well. But it's really helpful to have it in-house so you don't slow down the manufacturing process. We receive over 50,000 between raw materials and finished product. We're testing over 50,000 raw materials and finished products a year. And so it's our business to be able to truly stand behind the products that we make.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll share, and of course, at NatureCity, we try to be as transparent as possible. That starts with using, as I mentioned earlier, branded ingredients in our products almost exclusively, so consumers know the exact source of what's in the bottle.
Mhm.
And then I've also shared with our customers many times and our audience here on the NatureCity podcast that Vitaquest for over 20 years now has been making all of our capsule and powder supplements. And, we do that because we think you guys are one of the best in the world. And I also mentioned, and we always, Lauren, knock on
Mhm.
wood when I say this, because of the processes and the detail that you guys use, we have never failed a third-party test, anytime we've taken the final product and, verified with a third-party lab on the content and purity and so on. And frankly, I attribute a large part is to the in-house lab capabilities you do have,
Mhm.
which, from my view, is pretty unique in the industry in terms of, size and scope. And what has been our experience, look, problems going to happen. Things are going to come up. Things don't always go perfectly, right?
Mhm.
But what I've found that if there is a problem because you have this in-house, all this capability, the problem gets identified early on or right away. So, for example, you mentioned that all raw materials
Mhm.
have to be tested before they're released into the manufacturing process. We had an issue. It rarely happens because I think of the branded ingredients we use, but sometimes it does. We've had situations where an ingredient showed up, and in this case, it did not pass the microbiology testing, and that you did. So we had to stop
Right.
right there, right? And we had to contact the supplier partner and start again and return that material and get new material that was compliant with the specs that as it should be. So I think that's really important to the success that of you guys in terms of the quality of your products. And I don't know, how do you feel personally? Do you agree with this assessment? And, is there anything else you'd like to say about the importance of having that in-house lab?
Absolutely. I think it just gives assurance that we have a team of people who are working to make sure that all those boxes are being checked right, as you said, from the raw material stage. So there's no issues downstream. So we have over, 24 chemists, we have microbiologists all on staff, and they're just making sure that everything meets specifications. And then, of course, the purity testing is really important that we're able to do that in-house. So we can test for heavy metals, pesticides, and micro as well. And then having the objective part of it. So partnering with a third party lab is great because you have the objective piece, right? There's no affiliation. And so you're getting that testing and it's something that you can stand behind. So I think having both is really a strength. You have our in-house testing in real time, so we can have a smooth operating procedure and we can have no delays in getting product to the consumer. But on the other hand, you have that objectivity piece as well.
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, part of that initial testing is verifying the identity of, say, like the botanical ingredient or whatever, because that's another challenge in the industry is, especially when you get these ingredients that, maybe come hot or very popular, it just leads to a lot of bad actors presenting adulterated material.
Certainly.
So I assume part of that process at the outset is identifying just the validity and the identity of those materials. Is that right?
Yep, that's 100% right. Yep. So we're testing for ID. We do that right off the bat when the material enters our facility. Even to qualify a raw material vendor is a very vigorous process. And so just getting numerous lots of the same product and testing it and making sure that there's consistency, making sure that they can repeat the results, the information that's on a C of A or a specification multiple times, not just for one lot, but for dozens of lots.
From your experience, Lauren, what are some red flags or warning signs that consumers should look out for that may suggest poor manufacturing? Price and packaging shortcuts sometimes reveal problems that, may not be obvious?
Usually you get what you pay for, and if it seems too good to be true, it probably is when it comes to your supplements. You want to make sure the product is sealed correctly, that it clearly states the address of the company distributing the product. So in this case, NatureCity, you'll see the addresses on all of your labels. If there's any area of concern, the customer should just address it directly with the brand. And that sort of conversation and dialogue will tell you sort of everything you need to know. If there's clear communication and a solution that addresses the concern, then you know it's a brand that you can really trust. A well-made product really just shouldn't have any surprises.
As I mentioned earlier, Lauren, that, supplement manufacturing is a regulated business, and there's plenty of, inspections that you undergo. How frequently are Vitaquest facilities and processes audited, and by whom?
It's a great question. The US FDA conducts routine inspection of our facilities, and this is according to Part 111 compliance for dietary supplements. We also have routine inspections from some of our customers. We have probably over 50 audits a year for GMP certifications from USP, for food safety, FSSC 22000, which I mentioned earlier, NSF. And this year, all 4 of our facilities received full NSF certification for dietary compliance with GMP certification, and NSF 306 certified for sport. And this is after an intense on-site audit and review process. The audit focuses on each of our facilities in the manner in which we conduct our operations, ensure practices are compliant with high standards of quality. And the NSF is one of the most esteemed independent certification organizations in our industry.
No, I know. Well, it sounds like there's somebody in your facilities every week auditing something.
It certainly feels that way to our quality team.
Yeah. So you mentioned 4 facilities. I know you've had NSF certification for many years, but you've opened or acquired some additional facilities recently. So now everything under the Vitaquest umbrella sounds like it's NSF certified?
Yep, that's correct. We recently acquired a facility in Paterson, New Jersey, known as VQ Technologies. So it allows us to instantize ingredients, making them more soluble, just improving the user experience. We can make things effervesce or fizz, and it just broadens our capabilities.
And in addition to that, you have the USDA organic certifications, and
yep, that's correct.
A pretty long list of different certifications you have.
It's really a long list. Organic QAI also does audits of our facility yearly as well. We have kosher and halal products in addition to that. Pretty much every certification you can think of.
So they certainly keep you on your toes, no question. So do you have, here's a little bit of a different topic. Do you have an opinion on how third-party testing, adds an extra layer of protection and builds consumer trust when it comes to supplements?
Yeah, I think third-party testing, it often verifies when a product complies with industry regulations, certifications, safety guidelines. It's objective, it's unbiased, and it really ensures a product's quality and safety. And it's a signal of transparency if you're willing to send it out to a third-party lab. I think consumers are increasingly seeking out manufacturers that provide clear, verifiable information on the product quality, and partnering with a third-party lab who are experts in testing, right? That's all they do. It's just an extra layer of protection and reassurance without any bias.
I agree, Lauren, that the third-party lab testing is a good thing and adds an extra layer of protection, with one caveat. I think it can give some consumers a false sense of protection against bad actors. And here's what I mean by that. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, which is people who make fraudulent supplements or adulterated products, or just, trying to deceive the public, right? It's one of my biggest mantras and things that, that really upset me. And my perspective is, look, if you have somebody who is willing to break 2 or 3 laws already, what's to stop them really from falsifying basically a third-party testing result too,
Mhm.
right? Or they can get a test, and yes, maybe the test was on one product, but now they're selling a totally different product to the public using that test. So it's good, but it doesn't, in my view, totally protect the industry from, or consumer, I should say, from bad actors who are going to do bad things. Right? If you're already breaking 3 laws, you have no problem breaking a 4th or 5th one too by falsifying things like this.
Mhm.
So that's why, to me, it always comes back to one, knowing who the supplement brand is and why they're in business and what their practices and their reason for existing really are, and how they treat their customers and how they approach product formulation. And really, here's our tip number 2, which is getting to know the manufacturer of the product also, in terms of the processes you've been describing here, and and how
Mhm.
and just to add that real layer of confidence and trust for the consumer that they are getting a really high quality product that they can trust for them, their family, and their loved ones. That's what I really think it comes down to. I just feel that
Mhm.
there's too much, there's just still too many bad actors in this business
Mhm.
that I really try to protect consumers from. Even if they're not purchasing from NatureCity, that's okay. There's plenty of other good brands out there.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there's still a lot of bad brands out there too. And, I still think that some of these things that we think consumers may think are protecting them, oh, there's a third party test. Yeah, but bad actors are still going to figure out some way to work around that
Understood.
and
Yeah.
screw you somehow. So,
Yep.
that's my only caveat, if that makes any sense to you.
Yep, it certainly does. And we just use it as an extra layer of protection.
Mhm.
So we rely quite a bit on our in-house lab to just make sure from the beginning of the process that we're partnering with the right vendors. And I know that NatureCity has really close relationships with a lot of the vendors. Vitaquest is the same. We meet with them very regularly. We have an established history of receiving materials from them. So often we don't just buy one material from them, we buy numerous materials from them. And it sort of gains that trust, and years of buying the same raw material over and over again. It just gives you a good history of how the material performs, and a good track record for safety and reliability, and validating that C of A.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I point out in my tip number 1, one of the benefits I think of, buying supplements with the branded ingredients is the suppliers, the makers of those ingredients, are also checking the products too, because their name's on the bottle and they want to make sure their ingredient is truly in there,
Mhm. Yeah.
not being substituted somehow. So I think it adds an extra layer. And that's why, there's some of these tips that we like to give that maybe not obvious,
Mhm.
but help protect you from the bad actors and really help protect your family, making sure what you're taking is not going to help you, but safe as well. Maybe we could just summarize maybe 3 tips or maybe questions that you as a consumer, or you can recommend to consumers, things that they should seek out or ask a supplement brand about their manufacturer, so they can be confident about taking that brand's product.
Sure, absolutely. So I think a consumer should really ask where their product is being made, and if it's being made in a GMP facility. With years of establishment, we've been around since 1977. I think having that history behind it really gives you some confidence. Ask what they do to make sure that a product meets label claim. How do they verify that what's on the labels in the product? Is there any type of in-house testing? What testing is being done? And lastly, just ask about their reputation. Are they involved in any trade organizations? We're involved in the Council for Responsible Nutrition. Are they leaders in the industry? Are they vocal in the industry? Do they have a big profile in the industry? And do they work to strengthen the credibility and reliability in the dietary supplement world?
That was a great advice. I might add one more, which is, are they, constantly innovating, trying to figure out ways to improve quality, convenience, and just make sure that what's in the bottle or, in the capsule is truly in the capsule. Which
Mhm.
again, I think consumers' biggest fear, right?
Mhm.
How do I know what I'm buying is what I'm getting?
Absolutely. It's really important to know that a contract manufacturer is working to make sure that everything they're putting inside the delivery system, inside the capsule, the tablet, the powder has been vetted, that they have a relationship with vendors, that they've done the proper testing in-house with their in-house laboratory and third-party testing as well for extra unbiased assurance.
Yeah, I always come back to the in-house laboratory. I think it's just so important for identifying issues, and just like you said, every step of the process, checking that everything is as it's supposed to be. I think it's one of the reasons why we've had so much success with Vitaquest in terms of, frankly, always never failing a third party test, and just having, our customers have really good experiences. And frankly, just being able, all of us to be able to sleep at night, that we know we're doing the right things, and our customers are getting a good product. So, Lauren, thank you so much for, for taking the time today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
It's truly been an honor to have NatureCity as a partner in formulation and just assisting in bringing products to the market. You've done so much with education and consumers and really trying to impact the health and wellness of so many people. And I just love your motto that I just have to bring it up because it's just so important. If we won't take it, we won't make it. And it really goes hand in hand with Vitaquest's initiative too. We have a vitamin initiative where we have our own line that's just distributed to employees because we care about their health and wellness. So we make it here, they take it, and it really just helps to support their health and wellness. Their partners and families also receive the supplements. And it's really just everything we talked about today really applies. Being able to stand confidently behind the products that you make, and our employees take our product as well.
No, that's so wonderful. And, thank you for bringing that up, by the way. I was going to mention that before because we really kind of live by that motto. That, if we won't personally or give a product, if we won't take a product ourselves or give it to our loved ones, then we're not going to make it for what we call our extended family, which is our customers.
Absolutely.
Right? And, so many of the product ideas and the things we try to address, or health concerns we address, really stem from either personal issues family members are having or friends. And, we just approach it like every person taking the product is part of our family. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And look, Lauren, we've, again, Vitaquest has been such a great partner for so long, over 20 years now.
Wow.
And, I just think of how many people we've been able to help together, which is just wonderful, and, sometimes I just wonder as I'm walking through an airport, is there someone we're passing, we don't know each other, but somehow did we impact their life in a good way and their health in a good way together, right? That's one of my favorite parts of doing what we do is that you're helping all these folks that, you're probably never going to meet, right? But nonetheless, you're making an impact in your life. So thank you so much to you and everyone else there at Vitaquest for what you guys do, because it's really important to having an impact in the world.
Absolutely. We love partnering together.
Anything else, Lauren, before we wrap up?
No, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to have this conversation after so many years of knowing each other.
No, it really has. And thank you all. Remember, folks, tip number one, seek out the branded, scientifically stated ingredients in your supplements. Number two, make sure you understand who is actually manufacturing the product and that they comply with a lot of details that Lauren outlined today. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at NatureCity. We're available to you by email. You can call us 24/7. We're always here to answer your questions. So that's it for this week. Thank you again. So please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. And if you prefer listening to your podcast, you can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This is Carl Pradelli, and I'll see you next week.